The semester that I had my daughter, I decided to take 19 hours because I was like, I'm about to have a baby. I need to get all this out the way. It was crazy. So I started off at LSU in honors college. I had taken organic chemistry, didn't do well. And I remember the Friday I had her, I was like, you know what? I need to withdraw from this class because I'm not going to do well. Didn't know I was in labor at the time. But yeah.
Hey guys, real quick, Dr. Dale here. All right, so I want you guys to do me a favor. Before you start this episode, please hit that pause button and click subscribe or click follow or click like, whatever it is. We work really hard to bring you guys this good information to uplift the entire community, and we really appreciate you guys supporting our efforts and our work. Love you guys. Enjoy the episode.
I want them band like a daddy, yeah. Only do it like Flagger, yeah. I'm kicking flavor, no saga, yeah. Hey, I like them blues. I might go Janet like Jackson. I got them options, yeah. It's all about progression. Life is like a blessing. Everything a win, loss is like a lesson. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, ain't no time for stressing. I've been really stepping. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, if you wanna go get it, stop playing around. Really got on Rex, ain't playing around. Wanna go get it, stop playing around. Really got on Rex, ain't playing around. Black man, white coat, shit, we up right now, yeah.
What is up, family? It's Dr. Dale, the author of How to Raise a Dr. Wisdom from Parents Who Did It, the author of PreMed Mondays, the author of Black Men and White Coats, and the author of the Dr. Doc Children's series. And you are listening to the Black Men and White Coats podcast. Super excited about today's guest. She's one of my homegirls from way back, way back. I feel like I'm getting old now, man. I've known this one since 2013 or so. And it's going to be a good episode. I'm trying to tell you guys, it's going to be a great episode. Before we hop into the episode, just want to remind everybody about all the stuff we've got going on. If you haven't seen the documentary, make sure you check it out, bmwcmovie.com. If you're a pre-med, you can join our pre-med mastermind group and get coaching, premedmondays.com. And everybody else, just check out diversemedicine.com. We've got mentoring for you. We've got mentors, all sorts of great stuff going on there. Now, what you guys are here for, you want to hear from this legend. She is a legend in the game right here. This is Dr. Danielle Ward, a legit legend in the game. Like I said, I've known her probably since 2013 or so. It's funny, we actually just got off recording another podcast that she's doing with me for a new podcast that we're about to launch here. And, you know, we were talking on that podcast. We're like, wow, we've actually known each other since probably 2013. And she's been kind of the legend in the blogging world. So a lot of you guys are going to know her blog. We'll talk about it here a bit. But she's been a legend in this thing. And she's a past president of the Student National Medical Association, and she's got so many awards. I just remember a time period where I was just always seeing Danielle's name on coming out on everything. It's like another award, another award, another award, and it just never stops. So I'm very proud of this young doctor who is preparing to start her plastic surgery residency. So super proud of her. Dr. Danielle Ward, welcome to Black Men and White Coats, or today Black Women and White Coats. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, we go way back. PreMed Star, diverse medicine. Yeah, it's been a minute. Oh my
goodness, I forgot. I even forgot it was called PreMed Star from back then. Goodness gracious, but yeah, that's right. In diverse medicine, you actually used to run our kind of like, I don't know if we called it blog, whatever it was. You kind of helped us with all that media stuff back then.
Yeah.
But super excited to have you, and I'm super excited for the audience to hear your story, because I know part of your story, and it's a legit one. It's a real one. It's an overcomer one. It's a bit of everything. So, you know, as much as you're willing to dive and dig into, I'm going to go after. And if I say something you don't want to talk about, say we're not going to talk about that. But
we can talk about it all.
All right, we talk about it all then. All right. So first of all, before we start this, remind everybody what's your blog. So just in case people want to make sure they jot that down, they write it down, they bookmark it, whatever. What is your blog for people to find you?
It is aspiringminoritydoctor.com.
Yeah, and again, legendary blog, probably one of the first in the whole blogging thing for not medical school, but the field of medicine. And then you have a book also. What is the name of your book?
Yes, that is Atypical PreMed, a non-traditional student's guide to applying to medical school.
And they can find that where?
You can find it all major booksellers, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target. Just type in Atypical PreMed into your browser and it'll pop up.
All right, excellent. I wanted to make sure I did not forget that, because it's important for you guys to have those resources. Now let's get into the journey, and let's take it way back, because you do have a very different journey overall. But let's take it way back to childhood. When did you decide that you wanted to become a medical doctor, and then on top of that, when did you decide you wanted to be a plastic surgeon?
Okay, so I wanted to be a physician for as long as I can remember. Didn't have anything that triggered me into it. It was just something, I don't know if people remember TLC used to show, actual operations before they started blurring it out. And I used to love watching those. So that's what really got me into it. And then
when you said TLC, I thought you were talking about TLC, the group, the singing group. I was like, yeah, I remember TLC.
No, the Learning Channel, but now it's all reality. But way back then, they used to show the actual operations, and I thought that was really cool. And then surgery. So surgery's always been a dream. I've always said plastic since I was like, people tell me since I've been saying it since I was 11. But that's just because I really love the variety that the field, has. So it's been a minute.
Wow, so that's fascinating. So you might be one of the first people that I've interviewed that didn't have like that one specific trigger. So yours just kind of like, it's just what I've known, what I've wanted to do.
Right. I grew up in a military family. My parents wanted me to be an officer. So I'm the black sheep who went into medicine. I'm the first doctor in the family.
Hey, I'll say that's a pretty good black sheep though, right? That's a pretty good field to choose. So for your first doctor in the family, but did you have any physician influences around you, friends of the family? Where did that other than TLC?
So no, I didn't know Black physicians at all. And, that's, why I started blogging originally, is because I couldn't find anyone who had been through similar circumstances as myself. And I was like, there's got to be someone out here. So I put it in the atmosphere. I was like, if no one's out here, at least I'm going to show that it's possible, being a Black female, single mother, all this. But I didn't have any medical influences.
I love that. That's leadership right there. It wasn't there, so you went out there and you made it. That's huge. That's leadership.
Exactly.
So what kind of student were you growing up? Were you that geek nerdy student who got the good grades, or were you the student who was struggling? Where were you in that spectrum?
So I guess high school, growing up, so I moved a lot military, so I was in a different place every year. So the grades were good. I was that student who was just, I went with it, had good grades, but I was also a planner. So freshman year of high school, I was already planning out my college career so that I could make it into medicine. So a little bit of—
Were you really, or are you just saying that?
No,
really?
I really was. I was picking out LSU. I was like, okay, this is going to be my curriculum, planned out 4 years. Of course, you know what they say, make plans, God will laugh at you because nothing will go as planned, but I plan out everything.
That's fascinating. So how did you even have how was your brain even in that space to think to do something? Because I was just playing ball in high school, right? So how was your brain in that space to even think about what's my schedule going to look like in college?
Right. Well,
how did you know what college schedules were like?
Well, they tell you, plan out your college career based on what you want to do in life. So, okay, you want medicine? Okay, what do I need to major in to do that? And so, originally I had picked chemistry because it was always like, well, if I don't do well, I could have pharmaceutical to fall back on. Like, I've just been a planner my whole life. And then so you look at, the curriculum laid out, because you can find that for any school. But yeah, now that I say it out loud, I might have been a bit, obsessive about it. But
You were definitely advanced. I'll say that much. You were definitely beyond.
Always been me. And it's just funny because looking at my daughter, she's like, I don't know what I want to do. She changes every week, and I'm like, how do you not know when I knew? So it's interesting. So
how old is your daughter now?
Oh, she's 14, so she'll be starting high school in a few months this fall.
Nice. So she's 14, and you said when you were 14, you were planning for college already.
Right.
So you're putting those same expectations on your daughter, like, hey, when I was your age, I already knew what I was doing.
Right. And she's like, I don't know what I want to do. 1 week she's scientist, the other week trauma surgeon. She goes by what she watches on TV. So we'll see what she.
Hey, again, both of those are good fields, though. Both of those are good fields. So where did you go to college? You know what? Let's back up. I saw the excitement in your face. Whatever it is, you're very proud of it, because I saw you just get really bright. But before that, what things other than academics, what did you do in high school? How involved were you in other things?
So my thing was mostly choir. I was, in an a cappella group. I was always, no matter what state I lived in, I was involved in choir, but I wasn't involved in sports or anything else. Like I said, I was at a different place every year. So, but singing was consistent for me.
Nice. All right, now, so I saw the excitement. So let's go into it now. Tell me about the college. What are you proud of?
Louisiana State University, aka LSU. Go Tigers.
All right. I'm gonna call y'all the fake Tigers, because I went to Mizzou, University of Missouri. Tigers, real Tigers.
SEC, where it's at.
What Are you from Louisiana? I know you moved around, but were you like, was that your final stop? Or did you go out of state?
So when I graduated high school, I was in Georgia. But the funny thing is, by the time I made it to Georgia junior year, I already had enough credits to graduate, but they wouldn't let me. So I did high school in Georgia junior year, and in my senior year, I was actually at Kennesaw State University because I just did the joint enrollment, but never actually went to high school because they wouldn't let me graduate. So yeah.
So you just had to do it. All right. And so you get to LSU. What was before we even get to talking about like medicine and such, what was just a campus like? What's campus life like at LSU? Is it a big party school? Can you focus? What was it like down there?
So it's more of a football school. They call Baton Rouge, it's a drinking town with a football problem. For me, not being heavily into the sports, there were a lot of times where I was just like, hey, why is no one focusing on the education? Like we had Hurricane Katrina when I was there, followed by Hurricane Rita. And I remember they had canceled classes, but still had a Monday night football game. And I was just like, what are we doing?
Hey, that's money, man. That's a business right there. You cancel Monday night football, you losing a lot of money.
Yeah, but I chose it because it was a beautiful campus, well-rounded. So, you could get the party, you could get the sports, you could get the academics. It just had everything I wanted as a student. And the weather was nice, of course, being in Louisiana.
Nice. Oh, so were you a biology major or did you stick with the chemistry major?
So I started as a chemistry major, and then turns out I took the wrong physics required for the degree. So then they were like, well, you could switch to biology.
Well, hold on. So how did somebody who's been planning for college stuff since freshman year in high school, how'd she take the wrong physics?
So it was supposed to be some technical physics for engineers, something like that. I was like, well, that's not me. So I picked the regular one. And then when I was meeting with the advisor, they were like, no, it was supposed to be this one, but you could switch to biochemistry and get a chemistry minor and still graduate on time. So that's what I ended up doing.
Okay, nice. Yeah, biochemistry. I don't know, I'm trying to think about what the if there's any implications between those two majors. It probably doesn't matter.
There's a lot of overlap.
Yeah. That's good.
It didn't really make a difference.
So end up doing biochemistry major. What was your most challenging part of your undergrad years? What brought you the hardest?
So I had my daughter my sophomore year. Also at the time I was previously married, but also going through an abusive marriage and everything of that sort, trying to get out of that situation. I did have to leave for a semester just, for safety issues. So it was challenging having to leave, having to balance being a single mother, and then coming back with just my child and figuring out, okay, how do I work? How do I go to school? How do I make this happen? So not the challenges that most people face, but for me, it was, how do I raise this kid by myself? How do I make money? And how do I be a good student? So that was challenging.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Because, hey, a lot of pre-med is like, oh, my life is so hard. Well, I'm willing to bet your life wasn't as challenging as what some of the stuff you went through. So, I'm not going to, this isn't the podcast for the abusive relationship part, but I don't know if there's any listeners or such that might be in that situation, but what specific feedback about that would you say?
Don't stay in something. There's a lot of factors that people have to stay in these relationships. When I was married, I was a student and didn't have money. So I was kind of dependent on him. And that's why I ended up leaving. My closest family was 6 hours away. But get out of it while you can. It's not worth your life. Do what you got to do and let people know. I think a lot of it, the early stages, no one knew what was going on. And then had people known, I would have had more of a support system to kind of help me out of it. But that's the basics of it.
And you would have been young when you were married then. So
I got married at 19, officially divorced at 22. So yeah, I did everything young.
Yeah, that's okay. But was that somebody you've been with in high school, or did you meet him in college?
Yeah, it was a high school sweetheart.
Okay, so you had a long relationship. So then having a child, you're a sophomore, you said sophomore, right? Sophomore in college. With a child, so sophomore year, had you taken organic yet or not? What was going on in your world at that time?
So okay, the semester that I had my daughter, I decided to take 19 hours because I was like, I'm about to have a baby. I need to get all this out the way. It was crazy. So I started off at LSU in honors college. I had taken organic chemistry, didn't do well. And I remember the Friday I had her, I was like, you know what? I need to withdraw from this class because I'm not going to do well. Didn't know I was in labor at the time. But yeah, I remember 19 hours of solid, hardcore science, because in my mind, you know, once you have a baby, you can't study, which I didn't know she would sleep all the time. But yeah, it was rough. But like I said, I was a go-getter.
19 hours. Goodness
19
gracious.
hours. And I think that was like physics, organic, like all of that. It was insane. I don't
How'd you do that semester?
horrible.
I
It messed up my GPA hard, but you know, you do what you got.
I can imagine. I think the most I ever took was 18 hours, and I was never pregnant, right? So I think the most I took was 18 hours in my undergrad, and that was only one semester. Every other semester I took 15. And the semester I took the MCAT, I think I only took 12. And you took 19.
Yeah, GPA was hit hard.
So let me hold on. So okay, so this goes to the advising thing. Did you have advising? Did anybody advise you not to do that?
I mean, yes, people have always advised me not to do things, but you know, in my mindset, I'm gonna do what I want to do. It's like, you know, I'm gonna prove to you wrong. So yeah, I would say people told me not to do that, but you know, I'm like, if you haven't been in a situation, how can you let me know? So I'm hard-headed in that aspect.
So what happened after you had your daughter? Were you able to stay there on campus, or did you have to take time off? How did that impact you?
After I had her, so like I said, I was going through the marriage stuff. So it was actually, she was born in November, and it was that April, because it was a month before the semester ended, that I had to leave, just, you know, for safety reasons. So caught off that semester, you know, took a couple months, moved with my family, and then I came back that summer for like summer courses and just kept it going. And then by that time, the campus, since I had a kid, they did let me live on campus. But prior to that, I was living off campus.
Okay, nice.
And graduate housing, you know.
Okay, so wow, Danielle, goodness gracious. So your story is on a whole different level, goodness gracious. So how were you able to manage single? Is it appropriate to call you a single mother? I'm not sure how involved.
Yeah, I call myself a single mother. Yeah.
Okay, so how were you able to manage being a single mother, still majoring in biochemistry, right?
Oh yes.
Okay. And
that's what I graduated with.
Yeah. So how did you manage that? Like, what kind of help support did you bring in?
So I mean, I was a broke undergraduate student. It was just me and her. I was lucky enough to move into the graduate housing on campus, so that was cheaper. Use student loans to live. I also had a job as a student worker, and also a job as a student researcher. So I balanced that. I would go to classes. I had her in daycare, but I supplemented that with childcare assistance, food stamps. Like I did what I had to do to raise my kid. And then just kind of made it all work. Looking back now, I don't know how I did it, but it worked. And then every now and then I had people who I could count on who would babysit her for me so that I could get stuff done. So it was just building that village as I went along the way, which I continue to do throughout medical school and beyond.
Yeah, I was gonna ask specifically about kind of your network. So were you able to enjoy the typical things that college kids would have done then? Did that all go out the window?
Absolutely not. Like people, you know, talk about going out and having fun, partying, you know, I couldn't even go out and just, you know, buy a gallon of milk, you know, she was sleeping and stuff. So it was a completely different world for me. I didn't actually get to start having, you know, the fun college experience until I was a medical student. So, but until that time, it was work, it was be a mom, it was school. There was no extra fun. Even my graduation, it was just, okay, I graduated, you know. So
yeah, because what would you say to, so, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to downplay what pre-meds go through, but a lot of times people don't realize, a lot of times people think they're in a harder situation than what it could be, right? So like people tell me, oh, Dr. Dale, I'm so busy. I'm like, you have no idea what busy is, right? So what would you, without being kind of like mean or whatever, how can you get some people to understand that they should appreciate how much time they actually have free time? Because as a pre-med, like, oh, I'm so busy, it's so hard. Well, like, really, is it? It's relative, but is it? Like, were you a single mother trying to do everything that Danielle did? How do you get people to understand that? Not even pre-meds, but doctors. Some people are like, oh, it's so hard. How do you get people to understand, like, hey, it could be a lot worse. Look what you have. The grass is greener on your side. Enjoy it.
Yeah, and I try to, I don't try to say, oh, I'm a single mom, I did this, because I get it different.
But you did. But you did. You might not try to say it, but you did do it though.
But it's interesting because the times that I would leave my daughter for the summer or that sort with my family, I realized that it's hard in a different way for other people. Like because it'd be hard for me to study without the time management of having my daughter, having to work, having to do everything, because I knew I had to lay it out. When you don't have that, it's easy to watch Netflix all day. So it's the discipline that's the issue for most people, and it's developing the good discipline in those habits early, but it's hard to do if you don't have anything forcing you to do that. So while I wouldn't say I had it rough, because there's always someone who has it worse off than you, you really just kind of got to fight through those barriers and stay focused on what your game plan is.
Yeah, I get you. I feel you. But hey, I'm going to say it. So all the pre-meds out there and med students out there and doctors out there, all the way through the spectrum, people who are always thinking like, oh, I've got it really, really bad. Just understand, you need to appreciate what you have, because some people out there are doing 3 times the work you're doing, right?
And there's always, I'm sure there are single moms who had like 5 or 6 kids getting through college and getting it done. So like for me, it's like, I just had the one. So someone's always got it worse, and you got to keep that in mind. And then what you have now can always be taken away. So just keep pushing.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Love that. So, all right. MCAT. How was your MCAT journey?
Not good. So I actually took the MCAT 4 times. My highest score, and this is back, I know it's a new scoring system, but my highest score was a 22. So I was a low GPA'er because had the kid, had to get jobs and all that, and a low MCAT'er. So it was a struggle for me to get through medical school, and I couldn't afford.
Do you mind? Are you okay showing your GPA or no?
No, it's on my blog. So I graduated college, undergrad, with a 2.2 GPA. So there was really no getting into medical school for me until I got into my master's program, which they had me on probation. So I had my straight A's, and then, I graduated with that with a 3.7. And then my MCAT was a 22, the highest score. And that was my 3rd attempt, because I think the 4th attempt was like a 21.
So you guys hearing this? Yeah. Here she is with a 2.2 GPA, 22 MCAT, now about to be a plastic surgeon.
Yes.
This isn't making any sense to anybody. She's about to be a plastic surgeon. So I don't want anybody having any excuse to say they can't do it. But I'm sure what we're going to hear soon, though, is, and I mean, I know Danielle, right, is nobody's going to hand it to you. You got to work for it.
Exactly.
Right? You've got to go out and work for it. So let's hear some of the ways you overcame that, and how were you able to take those numbers and eventually get to where you got to? You mentioned that you had gone to the master's program. Tell us about that step.
All right. So after I graduated college, at that time I was like, okay, I need a job. So just the in between, I did take a career as a research associate. Was kind of running a lab in parasitology and immunology. We're working on a vaccination for a neglected tropical disease. But in that time frame, I was like, okay, I need to build up my application. I got the research, I got all, the publications and stuff that's needed, but this GPA isn't going to cut it. So I found actually an online master's degree program. It was through University of St. Joseph in West Hartford, Connecticut, where, you could do your whole master's online. You could go there to graduate, and it shows up on your transcript as like normal classes, like you're at the actual university. But I was always open.
So I would have known you when you were doing this. What year was this?
I think I finished the program 2013. I started in 2012. So
okay, I feel like I probably because I remember this. Because I remember thinking like Danielle's one of the first people who's really starting to do these online master's programs that I knew. Because I didn't know people doing it back then. I remember I was thinking you were one of the first people doing it. Now people do it all the time, but
right.
I remember thinking you were.
Stigma. There was big stigma against it because they were like, this doesn't count. That's why I was like, will this show up on my transcript? But even further on, I always let people know it was an online course because it was hard. It was harder than being in person. Because you had to do that every week. You had to do discussion boards, whereas when you're on campus, you could show up when you want to, take the exams. But those online classes were something else. And that was just 6 hours required to be full time. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, goodness. So you've been a trendsetter every step of the way, then, right? So you were somebody that was going to say, I'm gonna put this out there. Somebody just needs to make a movie about your life. I'm gonna go ahead and put that out there. Whoever's got the means of research, I just made a movie, so I know how hard it is, but still, this is good enough, right? Someone needs to make a movie about your life because it just needs to be done. I'll just say that it just needs to be done. But So did the master's program.
While working full-time in research. So I was able to kill two birds with one stone, or three actually, working, research, and building up my GPA.
And being a mommy.
Oh, yes.
Just saying, that's kind of a hard job too. Goodness gracious, man, you're making me feel like a real failure in life right about now. you had a lot going on.
All the movies and the 9-time author, I'm trying to get on your level.
No, you had a lot going on and you're killing it, man. All right, so the master's program. So what were those conversations like whenever you're interviewing for med school? Yeah, goodness, man, I would have loved to interview you for med school. What were those interviews like when you're explaining your journey, your story, and then?
So it was interesting. So applying to medical school, and one thing I'll mention is the university, because of my low undergrad GPA, despite having a high graduate GPA, they wouldn't even write me a committee letter. So that took me out of a lot of medical schools as it was. And then when it came to medical school interviews, I'll let you know, I only got one interview, and that's where I ended up going. Philadelphia College,
all you need sometimes.
It was Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, Georgia campus. And, during the interview, they didn't ask anything about my grades, my MCAT. It was very laid back. I still remember one of the professors, I walked in and I was like, I hate your tie, because he had a Georgia Bulldogs tie on. And then we started talking about sports and Hurricane Katrina. So it was very laid back, and I didn't have to, fight to explain myself during the interview, because what people don't know is once you get the interview, they already like you. It's up to you to make it or break it. So at that point, you don't need to explain yourself. They've already seen your downfalls. It's just, showing that you're not crazy and you'd be a good part of the school or institution, wherever you're going.
So what was there ever a point in your journey where you felt that imposter syndrome hitting you hard, where you felt like, man, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here? And then at what point did you, and we never get over imposter syndrome, it's always going to be some of it there, but what point did you realize, like, oh no, man, I can kill this thing, right? Because like I said, I remember when you were in med school, I just remember seeing you award here, award there, SMA president. So something happened where you twitched on, you just started running right past everybody on that track field.
Right, and you don't ever get over imposter syndrome. Like, I'm about to go in plastic surgery, I'm still like in shock. Like, I still check the match email and check to make sure my contract's in. Like, it's still a disbelief. But I remember, and you go back to the presidency, when I was running for president of SNMA, one of my friends, I was like, I don't know if I'll ever get this. I'm a DO. They've never had a DO president. And then I just remember he said, God doesn't, call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And like, from that just kind of gave me the push. And like, I use that for everything now. It's like, I might not feel like I have it, but, God's going to give me the tools to make sure I make it and succeed in whatever I do. So that's kind of what's pushed me for everything at this point.
Amen. Yeah, I mean, in your situation, right, by the time you get to residency, it's really about how hard are you willing to work, how are you really willing to grind, and I think it's clear that you're willing to put the work in. So that's not even a question at all. So what would you say was the most challenging part for medical school for you?
So medical school for me was actually fun. It was like the studying and the time management. I came in knowing how to do that because I had a kid. So it wasn't like, it wasn't a drastic change. Like the lack of sleep when I had rotations wasn't a drastic change as a mom. That's what you deal with. So medical school was fine. It was the, applying the residency part and then failing to match. That was the hardest part, I would say, of my entire medical career, was, going through medical school, passing boards, doing average, I was always like 70 equals DO. So I wasn't, gunning for that straight A type thing. But then, to be president, to have all these awards, and then at the end of fourth year, you haven't matched, like that. Heartbreaking beyond the toughest part of my medical.
You went for plastics. I remember when you were in med school, I was connecting you with people who were plastic surgeons. So you were going for you applied for plastic the first time.
No, so I didn't tell. So with plastics and general surgery, like a lot of people were like, don't tell people. So not too many people knew that I was interested in plastic surgery. So like, you're one of the rare ones. Like, I would reach out to people and let them know, but it wasn't something I made public on the blog or in any aspect. So when I first applied, being an osteopathic medical student, I was just like, what, I don't have like I'm not a stellar applicant. Going straight into plastics is unrealistic. Let's just plan for general surgery residency and then do the plastics fellowship. So that was my game plan. And then, I did my intern year in general surgery, traditional rotating internship. And then I reapplied again, didn't get it. And it wasn't until this year that I was like, you know what? I'm working as a physician. I'm making money. I can afford to apply everywhere. Let me just go for it and see what happens. Because I had been applying throughout the year since finishing intern year. I've been applying for open positions like PGY2 in plastics, and I had gotten some interviews. So I was like, oh, they actually like me. So I was like, let me just go for it and just apply to start as like an intern again. And so it worked out.
It works, amen. So real quick, so didn't match, but you still worked as a physician.
Yes, so I didn't match. This was before the AOA ACGME merger. So I was able to scramble into a 1-year traditional rotating internship in general surgery. So I have completed a year of general surgery training. And then I reapplied after that and didn't match again. What most people don't know is, once you have that year, you passed all 3 of your required boards, you can get a license, an unrestricted license to practice in most states. So, I was in Philadelphia. I was like, you know what? I'm going back to Georgia. I'm gonna be an urgent care physician. I'm gonna make money and figure this out and keep applying in the meantime. And so that's what I've been doing. And then for the past year, I've just been open positions. I've been applying as much as I can.
Yeah, so you got real world training and got a real world paycheck while at it too. So
yes, so went from that intern paycheck to attending paycheck, and now I'll go back to residency. But it'll all be worth it, and I've been saving up. So
your daughter's old enough now to maybe start appreciating some of this. What does she have to say about mommy?
So she's been telling people that her mom's a plastic surgeon for the past few years. So I've had to tell her teachers like, no.
Affirmations.
Not yet, but she is just so proud. She's like, you're gonna make it. Of course, she's like, you could buy me a car now. She's thinking about money because she's 14. But she tells me she's proud all the time. Sorry if you hear background noise.
No, you sound good. But man, you got it, man. Somebody make this a movie. That's all I know. This is phenomenal. And
well, not yet. Let me make it first. Let me make it. I still got 6 years.
Yeah, I guess, but nah, affirmations, man. Affirmations. I believe it. You're gonna be good. You, like I said, by the time you get to residency, it's all about, are you willing to put that grind in, and you clearly showed that you can go harder than anybody. All right, so a couple things. Let's see here. I do these little games at the end sometimes. Let me. It's gonna be this or that, right? So pick this or pick that. I'll do 3 of them just for fun.
All right.
They have no basis, whatever. Just sometimes just gonna randomly make up. Lion or tiger?
Lion.
Wow, I did not expect you to say that. You went to LSU. I was like, she's definitely gonna say tiger. Why the lion?
Lions a bit bigger. They're more majestic.
Actually, it's funny because I went to Mizzou. Mizzou's a tiger, and I would say lion too. For those who are seeing, you can't see it, but in my room, it's my workout room. I always want to have space on my wall above me that I want to put a big lion across there. I haven't done it yet, but I want to get a big lion and put it across there. All right, blue or red?
Blue.
Are you in a sorority, by the way?
I am not. I didn't have the GPA as an undergrad to qualify, and then I have a daughter after, so
Yeah, time. All right, and let's do the last one. Cake or pie?
Cake.
I forgot to ask you why. So why for the blue? Why blue over red?
Oh, because blue is calming. Calming force. It's just tranquility. It's gonna be cool.
Is that blue? Is that blue you're wearing, or is that purple? I'm not.
Oh, it's blue.
It's blue. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wearing blue too, actually. And then why the cake?
Oh, because a chantilly cake came into my mind, and now I want cake. And I was looking at pancakes last night and stopped myself from ordering them. So I've just been thinking about cakes.
Good deal. All right. So what advice would you give, in one sentence, what advice would you give, say, high schooler?
Find out what you want. Don't let anyone discourage you. Don't give up.
Man, is that 3 sentences?
Yeah, I was trying to add some commas in there.
There you go.
Or okay, reach for the stars.
Reach for the stars. I love it. And then let's do med student. What advice would you give a med student in 1 sentence?
You have what it takes to make it.
Comma. Okay.
I know I wanted to add more, but I thought.
That's how you're thinking about it. Excellent. So, man, Dr. Ward, thank you so very much for inspiring me on this episode and inspiring. I'm certain our listeners are inspired. This is going to be one of the Man, we're going to get a lot of feedback on this one. I can tell you that now. So what is your email so they can send you an email directly and I don't get bombarded with the emails?
Oh, that is aspiringminorityDoctor@gmail.com.
So aspiringminorityDoctor@gmail.com and social media handles.
So Twitter and Instagram is @MinorityDoctor. Facebook is facebook.com/MinorityDoctor.
And one more time, your book
is Atypical Pre-Med, a non-traditional student's guide to applying to medical school, available through all major retailers and Amazon.
Definitely. So you guys go get all that stuff. Reach out to her. She's a phenomenal mentor. Like I said, I've been knowing Danielle to do great stuff for quite a bit of time now. So definitely check it out. For the pre-med, check out PreMedMondays.com. Monday evenings, you get a chance to be part of the mastermind group with the other pre-meds, and either myself, Dr. Daniel, one of the medical students, your coaches there. Every week I send you a video that helps you develop. And diversemedicine.com, you can get a mentor there. And if you haven't seen the Black Men and White Coats documentary, What Are You Doing? Go check it out, bmwcmovie.com. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe on YouTube. We're putting the videos on YouTube now. And follow the podcast. Daniel, try to make sure you got the hair right. All right, everybody. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you.
I'm kicking flavor, no saga, Hey, I like them blues. I might go Janet like Jackson. I got them options, It's all about progression. Life is like a blessing. Everything a win, loss is like a lesson. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, ain't no time for stressing. I've been really stepping. Ooh, ooh.